Storm, earth, and fire, heed my call.
He needs some milk.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, it has been a little bit boring for the Bitcoin price action this weekend, ultimately just sideways and down. But remember, we were saying that we did have this critical resistance intersecting with this critical support. And because we are in a downtrend, nevertheless, we did, in fact, pull back, which I did think would be very healthy for us to do. But don't get too comfortable just yet, everyone, because this is about to be potentially the most important critical week for Bitcoin in a very long time for a few different reasons. Number one, we obviously have the options expiry. We also have the 200 weekly that keeps pushing us down. We also have the 50 monthly, which is so critically important to get above, and that's just on the technicals. We also have two extremely important events coming up in the US. We obviously are going to see what the Fed is going to do this week on Wednesday, whether or not they're going to raise by 75 or 100 basis points. And we also have the GDP coming out, which is essentially going to let us know whether or not we are truly in a recession. All of this is going to happen this week. So we have so many Bitcoin technicals. We have so many things coming out in the news. And on top of that, I have a chart that I'm pretty sure no one is paying attention to right now. And I want to show you something crazy, because if it plays out like what we've seen in the past, well, it could be very, very exciting for Bitcoin. And I also want to go into some whale data, show you what those guys are doing. And there was also a very interesting crypto study that came out. So we're going to go over all of that. Obviously, I'll let you know what I'm doing with this short-term price action. And if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video. We have a lot of content to cover, heading into the week. And I think the week is going to be quite big. So if you're not subscribed, definitely get subscribed. And without further ado, let's dive in. So ultimately, what we're doing right here, guys, is we are forming sort of a bit of a giant falling wedge. Now, I just want to point out, we technically did touch this area, this blue zone, which is what I was expecting us to go down to, right around $22,000 even. However, I just want to point out that we did have the lower end of that around 21,600. So there is still that potential, even though you can see we are dancing on this very important right here support. But overall, the main pattern is that we're going down. So even if Bitcoin does come up to around 23,100, if we don't have the confirmed breakout, we could still technically come back down here. And right around 21,550, 21,600 for me, that's sort of like the last limit, where if we don't hold there, then I think we're going to continue lower in this pattern. But I would anticipate that once we do get this sort of sideways consolidation, right? Nothing goes up in a straight line. Then right down here, guys, right around 21,600 would be the area for me personally to re-enter into those longs. Obviously we were already in the trade. We closed the trade, but the reason that I don't see too much price action is because you can see that we closed 22,600 on CME futures. We usually tend to open up around that area. And today, right now, you can see we are around $22,615 at the time I'm making this video. So that's essentially why I'm not expecting anything until Monday, but we could see some fireworks, especially if we can get above this if we can break out of this consolidation. The next target is, we already hit my target, but 24,200. But then we also have this Terra Luna wick right here, right, where we kind of fell. So that's also a possible target right there, around $25,200. And you can also see that we perfectly bounced off of this support, right? So essentially, what does this all mean? It means that Bitcoin is consolidating, and we are attempting to continue this move to the upside, right? We had that minor capitulation. We're still waiting for our buy signal. And obviously, you guys can see right here, we need to get above this level over here on the weekly, the 200 weekly, which is around $22,700. So really what you want to do is close, hopefully, and it's actually crazy because we're right there. I mean, we're sitting right there on the line. But yeah, it's possible. It's totally possible that we could actually close this full week above the 200 weekly. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next few hours, right? But nevertheless, guys, if we take this fractal and we put this down here, look at how this lines up. Isn't this crazy, right? It shows us that we could potentially have another fake out double bottom if it continues, if it plays out the same way, right? Resistance, resistance. We come up here, We test resistance again, maybe sometime around October, we get back up to 30,000, fake out to the downside, and then we start the bull run, right? But that's a little bit of long term. Obviously, short term, if you guys are looking to trade, make sure that you guys get subscribed to the channel. I go over every level that I'm looking at totally for free. I don't charge anything, no paid groups, nothing like that. But if you guys do want to get extra bonuses, you can get even more than the $4,000 bonus below if you want to use the link for BitGet, which is where I will be doing most of my trading. And like I said, it is quite US friendly, 20 Bitcoin daily withdrawals, and you can actually get discounts on the fees if you use the token. It's kind of like BNB. You don't have to, but like I said, guys, take advantage of it. It takes 20 seconds to sign up. Now, before we continue, I just wanted to give a shout out super quick to Stock Money Lizards. He did point something pretty interesting out. So back in 2015 to 2017, we actually had this falling wedge. Then we had a double top with a double bottom, and that marked the reversal. Well, that's kind of what we're doing right now, falling wedge, double top into the double bottom. So just pointing that out, not saying history has to play out exactly as it has in the past, but something you cannot ignore right here is look at this RSI. Look at, this is all of Bitcoin's history. You can see it's kind of smushed up here, really small, but look at the RSI on the bottom. And, you know, if we just take a level right here and basically look at this right around this 50 area, right around here in the RSI, you could see that every time Bitcoin breaks above this, we start the bull run, right? We start the bull run. Now, we're not close to it. Right now, currently, we're sitting at around 43, but also this is the lowest that the RSI has ever been. And you could see it just recently started to curve to the upside. So, you know, it may end up taking a couple months, 2 months, 3 months, but if Bitcoin does curve and we do cross above that 50, that would probably signal that we are about to go on a massive bull run. The other thing that why this month is so important is because you can see right here, we have this 50 monthly average right here sitting at around 21,600. So obviously we're above that. So that's really, really good. And if we can keep these levels, at least the monthly would be great. And if we close above the 200 weekly, then those are two of our very important price targets we could say we've done, which could signal that the bottom is getting close. Now, I want to look at a different chart. This is the DXY. Now, the DXY could potentially be topping out because not only are we out of the blue zone slightly, but look at this parabolic curve. Where's my tool here, guys? Why can't I find it? Right here. Look at this parabolic curve that we've been putting in essentially, right? And every single time Bitcoin touches this parabolic curve, it rides on it or it bounces directly off of it, right? This is the first time that we've fallen, below the blue zone. We haven't fallen below this yet. But if you remember, where did we see a parabolic chart like this previously? Bitcoin 2017. Anybody remember this parabolic chart, right? And you could see this started back in November of 2015. And every single time Bitcoin was doing the exact same thing, right? It was bouncing, it was bouncing, it was bouncing, it was bouncing. And it just, the curve kept getting higher and steeper and the angle was almost going straight up at one point. And then look at this, guys. We finally, look at this crazy wick, by the way, that we had on this day, right? When we broke below it. And as soon as we did that, what did we do? Well, we went into a multi-year bear trend, right? And then obviously once we broke this trend, boom, we popped up, which is another thing that I am paying attention to is this downward sloping trend. But yeah, I mean, once that, parabola was broken, it wasn't good for Bitcoin. But in the case of the dollar, if the parabolic move breaks to the downside, that would actually be very good for Bitcoin, right? Because that's when more risk assets, commodities, and things like that really start to take off. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, obviously this week we have the Federal Reserve expecting to hike rates again. So that could maybe affect the end of the month, which would suck that we made it this far. We're looking like we want to close above the 200 weekly and we want to close above the 50 monthly. But, let's see what the Fed does, because on top of it, we have the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis set to release its advanced estimate of the second quarter GDP, the gross domestic product. So that's happening on July 28th. So 26th and 27th, we have the Federal Reserve FOMC meeting. Then the 28th, we have this happening. So 2 negative quarters in a row essentially would solidify that we're in a recession, right? Now, I think a lot of people kind of already think that we are in a recession, so I don't know how much this is really going to affect the price of Bitcoin. But at the same time, nevertheless, maybe the news could shock the markets or something like that. I don't know why markets are so irrational they are. But getting back to why I think that on a technical level, it does look like we've had this bottom out is also if you look at the total crypto market cap, excluding Ethereum and excluding Bitcoin, you can see that we've actually come down here and it does look like we are having a bottoming out moment on this previous resistance, right? Actually, previous resistance and support. And you can see, even though we didn't come down to that level, I guess you could say, actually, if you want to really be honest with you, it's almost like we've kind of fallen below this long-term support here that's acting as resistance. So I guess you could say that as well. You would really want to get above sort of around 410 billion. But nevertheless, I still do think that it does look like we could be having a potential bottom out for the market. And not to mention, for anybody trading Ethereum, the Ethereum to Bitcoin pair, remember we were talking about the dominance? Look at this, guys. Cup and handle forming. I drew over that kind of bad, but you see what I'm saying, right? Look at this Ethereum. So you have the cup right here, right? And then you have the handle forming right here. And look at that resistance and look at that trend line. So if Ethereum does have this breakout, it could lead into that altcoin rally, because remember, the Bitcoin dominance, if I have it pulled up here, I don't know where it is. Let's see, Bitcoin dominance, where is it at? Right here. You can see, guys, we are sitting very, very, very low. So, if history repeats, then we should have a bounce and Bitcoin should lead, the pack. But if we break down, essentially, if we fall below 41%, you could see a massive altcoin rally, which would be really weird to see at this point in the market. But nevertheless, look where we are on the dominance. So we will obviously be keeping our eyes on that as well. But yeah, guys, so that's basically that situation for the technicals. Now, you have to look at Bitcoin, considering where we are right now, considering what we've been through, falling currently, where are we at? 56% down, 67% down. We were 70% down. But look at all the things that have happened. So you had the collapse of the Terra Luna ecosystem that led to a domino effect across the space, which culminated in billions of losses. The crypto winter also consumed liquidity provider Three Arrows Capital and the insolvency of crypto institutions such as Celsius. Regulations and cybersecurity failures have also been highlighted during this quarter. Janet Yellen said that the risks associated with the crypto space are very high, especially after the Terra explosion. Lawsuits have been filed against Terraform Labs and other related entities in the aftermath of the crisis. The ongoing security crisis has also been well documented in previous reports, and over 1 billion has been stolen in DeFi exploits over the quarter, which continues to threaten protocols. So on top of having the worst, basically, first half of the year, we've pretty much ever seen, we also have had all of this madness, and yet here we are, and Bitcoin is still not dead. It's not banned. It's still printing blocks, right? Producing blocks every 10 minutes roughly, and the protocol does continue. So you really have to realize that fundamentally nothing has actually changed, right? However, we did hear about that insider trading that was over at Coinbase, and because of that, the SEC has actually now officially started, cracking down the hammer. And we said that regulations were coming, and some of these tokens, most of them, let's be honest, are unregistered securities. So now they said that they have labeled securities for Power Ledger, Chromatica, DFX Finance, AMP, Rally, Rary Governance Token, DerivaDAO, LCX, and XYO. That was just 9 of the 25 different assets that were allegedly used for insider trading. So it's definitely going to be, crazy times. And then on top of that, guys, we have Tesla selling their Bitcoin. But does it really matter? This is what CZ from Binance said.
So it's Bitcoin holdings, that a lot of people worried. Guy runs Tesla's a pretty smart guy, a bit controversial. But if he's retreating from this, should we be retreating from this?
Look, he's a smart guy, but doesn't mean that he holds every valuable asset in the world. He probably doesn't hold many other company stock, many other valuable cryptocurrencies, etc. Just because he buys and sells some Bitcoin doesn't mean that, because he buy, Bitcoin got better. Because he sell, Bitcoin became worse. The fundamentals are there. The use cases are there. The user numbers are there. The community is there. The fundamental properties of Bitcoin didn't change because one guy bought or sold. and nobody knows what are the reasons he bought or sold. Maybe he needed cash for Tesla or try to buy Twitter or something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really mean much. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like we were pointing out, 900 million might seem like a lot, but when you're talking about the overall liquidity in the crypto space, it's really not. You have moves like that all the time. And if you really want to pay attention to what the real whales are doing, the big hodlers, okay? So whales, it's kind of a loose term, but we agree usually that a whale is someone that has more than 1,000 Bitcoin. I mean, 1,000 Bitcoin is like a crazy amount, right? And so you could see that hodlers that have been holding 1,000 Bitcoin or more in their wallets, although it was mostly sideways, right around May, it started to take off. And the number of whales that have had over 10,000 Bitcoin, which is just an astronomical number, but there are people out there that have that kind of money. They have been consistently buying and accumulating their positions throughout the entire course of the year, including even when Bitcoin's price was falling. They weren't selling, they were accumulating. So that's definitely something to point out. It's definitely been more of a retail capitulation, right? Of course, there's some institutions, I mean, Tesla sold, right? But for the most part, it was a lot of the smaller fish that you saw that were panicking, and you could see on-chain activity showing that it was a lot of the newer people in the space. So the people that were selling were the people that just bought, right? They were the ones that got into crypto started going down, they sold, and then you have the long-term holders, they're just sticking it out, right? So Florian Grumes, he's the managing director over at Midas Touch Consulting. He was over on Kitco News, and he said that according to the current market sentiment and everything that's going on right now, he does think we are due for a relief rally, and he thinks that Bitcoin can get as high as $35,000 this summer. However, he thinks that the crypto winter is far from over. He says in the larger context, I think we are still in the crypto winter when it comes to Bitcoin, and usually that takes time. We'll probably have to wait until the next Bitcoin halving, which is supposed to be May 2024. So that will be about 2 years from now. I think realistically, it takes at least another 6 to 12 months before this market is really ready for a new bull market rally. But in the meantime, and this is what I was saying, we are still in a downtrend. I'm not going to get bullish until we break that main downward sloping trend that I just showed you guys. But short term, I think that we are due for a rally. And I still think, even though we're consolidating right now, I still have my targets, 25,000 Terra Luna crash, 28,000, and maybe even tap the bottom of 30, if we can get that wick to the top side. But at that point, I would become very hesitant again. And, like I said, get subscribed to the channel. I'll let you guys know. Long term, I'm bullish, crazy bullish on Bitcoin. Like, I think Bitcoin's going to $1 million in our lifetime. I'm not kidding. But short term, we got a little bit of work to do, right? So, interestingly enough, talking about the long-term outlook of Bitcoin, a joint study conducted by the Boston Consulting Group, BitGet Exchange, and Foresight Ventures revealed that digital asset adoption is still in its early days. So they estimate that adoption is really only at around 0.3% of total individual wealth being distributed in this asset class. So in comparison, you have about 25% of people's funds allocated to equities, such as shares of private companies, right? So comparing the asset class to the internet's development in the 1990s, the entities calculated that the number of crypto users is likely to reach 1 billion users by the year 2030. So essentially in 8 more years, you're talking about 1 billion people using crypto. They say retail investors have distributed around 300 million or 4%, where only 2% has come from the institutions. And the institutional money is really where the big money's at. And even though we do have institutions trading, we do have them in right now, it's not as big as people think. There are a lot of guys still sitting on the sidelines. We still don't have that spot Bitcoin ETF. We still don't have the sovereign wealth funds from the UAE, right? Lot of market participants still not even getting their foot in the door yet. So among institutional investors, we have hedge funds and venture capital firms being the most willing. And I told you guys that even though it fell a little bit, they almost doubled their exposure to about 70 billion from the fourth quarter of 2020 to the end of 2021. Recently, they've taken about a $2 billion hit, but for the most part, they're still investing. They're still looking into crypto products, crypto assets, space, Bitcoin and all that other stuff. And we are still having a lot of adoption for Bitcoin. California just passed a new law enabling state and local office political contestants to receive donations in cryptocurrencies. The new law, which will take effect in 60 days, was passed after the state's Fair Political Practice Commission approved the new requirement. So, lots of good things out there, guys. It's a little bit rough. We are technically in the crypto winter. I do still think we're going to have that rally. So get subscribed to the channel. Pay attention to what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, I still think we're going to stall out here until Monday. And, once we essentially come down, we may have already touched it. This may have been what we were waiting for, right? Because we got confirmation, but there still is the possibility, of one more touch to the upside, to the downside before having that, major breakout, right? Usually you kind of get those 3 points of contact. So we do have 1, 2 here, and we have 1, 2 here. So I still think we can kind of be a little bit range bound between 21,600 and 23,000, maybe actually leading into the end of the month. I mean, we could stay in this range until the end of the month. But then we do also have a lot of things coming out for the US next week. So I don't know. I mean, are we in a recession? I'm going to just go and say yes, probably. It's probably going to be bad. And is the Fed going to raise 100? I don't know. We did see inflation come down a little bit, gas prices coming down, things like lumber and copper all coming down. So it's a potential that they'll just stay with the 75, which would be good. That's what everyone's expecting. So really the big event's probably going to be the GDP recession news, which we're probably going to be in. So just brace for that. But maybe the markets are already pricing it in. Who knows? I mean, most people, especially, people investing in markets, I mean, would you be surprised if we didn't get negative results? I mean, at this point. So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you for coming back to the channel. Also, make sure if you guys want to trade, check out BitGet. Lots of leaderboards over here if you guys want to do the copy trading. Over $4,000 in bonuses from BitGet and like $13,000 from the other guys. And if you are looking to trade, I highly, highly recommend before you use your real money, use the link below. You can get $4,000 for free. You can trade with that money, practice with that money. It's totally free money. And make sure that you check out these videos that are popping up right here, right now. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you for coming back. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.